On today's episode of Locked On Stars, we're going to dig into some of the biggest questions revolving around Stars superstar Jason Robertson. How much is he going to command on his next contract? And what are the complications moving forward for Dallas?
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. I'm Joey Erickson, former producer of 105 Through the Fan. Please be sure to subscribe. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. And as always, thank you so much for making us a part of your day and making us your first listen. Jason Robertson has proven to Stars fans he's one of the best left wingers in the National Hockey League. But after the Stars traded for Mikko Rantanen last spring, how did that affect the next potential deal for Robo? And does it make sense for the Stars to sign him long-term for a deal that could be north of $10 million per season? We're going to get into all of that on this Monday edition of Locked On Stars. Also, if you were the Stars GM and you could only choose one, Harley or Robo, who would you choose to sign long-term? Plus, we're going to talk about some of the newest Hall of Fame inductees to the Dallas Stars Hall of Fame a bit later on. Today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL, monarchmoney.com/LOCKEDONNHL for 50% off your first year. So this has been one of the hottest topics of the summer for Dallas Stars fans, I believe. Jason Robertson and his next potential contract. You have to remember, he is under contract for next season. So it's not like the Stars have to trade him or the Stars have to get a deal done before training camp or before the beginning of the new season. But we're going to compare him to Mikko Rantanen a bit as well, because it really is fascinating when you look at it. And Jonathan Huberdeau, who's another left winger who was paid pretty handsomely back in the day, just to compare a little bit between these two players and where maybe Jason Robertson fits in with the Dallas Stars in his next contract. And my first question that I brought up earlier this summer, and maybe even before the end of the regular season last year, did Jim Nill make the trade for Mikko Rantanen assuming that they were not going to re-sign Jason Robertson after giving Rantanen $12 million per year? And of course, yes, the cap is going up, but if the Stars do sign Robertson to a deal north of maybe $11 million, 10 and a half, how does that affect the way the Stars can build their team moving forward? And does that really put a lot of restraints on what the roster can be? And yeah, the cap may be going up, but it has to make sense for the Stars. And when you compare Mikko and Robo a bit, I think it's clear Rantanen is a step ahead. But when you look at what Jason Robertson has done to this point in his career, he's obviously an elite player, back-to-back 80-point seasons. And we all know he did not get off to a fast start last year, and he tore it up from January 1st on. And we know his potential, his ceiling, 109 points back in 2022-23. And if we were having this conversation 2 years ago, he is the face of the Stars moving forward. Has that changed now for the Dallas Stars? Now, I'm going to show you the comparisons here on YouTube. For those of you on audio only, I will try to describe it to the best of my ability. But for those of you watching on YouTube, this is Jason Robertson and Mikko Rantanen through the first 6 seasons of their career. I tried to match it up where it was a pretty similar amount of games played. Well, Jason Robertson in his 374 games of his first 6 seasons, so it's his entire career up to this point, 394 points, 168 goals. You go to Mikko Rantanen, his first 6 seasons in the NHL, and I think Mikko began his NHL career at 19 years of age, but he's played in 333 games. Robo has 374, so Rantanen's played a little bit less, but look at some of the numbers. 129 goals for Rantanen. Advantage Robo there. 316 points for Rantanen. Advantage Robo there. Really all major offensive categories outside of power play goals. Jason Robertson has the advantage. And yes, that is regular season statistics. And this is where it gets really interesting, because then you can go to the playoff performances. That is where it's really drastic. Jason Robertson in 56 playoff games, 44 points in 56 games. It's not horrible, right? And we've touched on this. It really isn't that bad when you look at just the surface level numbers. But then you go to somebody like Mikko Rantanen. And of course, he won a Stanley Cup with the Colorado Avalanche. He has a lot more games under his belt, 99 playoff games already in his 8-year career, but 123 points and 43 goals for Mikko Rantanen, well over a point per game. And that is where you have to be cautious if you're the Stars about where and how the number and term lines up for Jason Robertson. And look, I want Jason Robertson to be a part of the Dallas Stars moving forward. Don't get me wrong, but the Stars are going to have to make a tough decision with Robo at some point. Do you sign him to a number that he deserves but doesn't make sense for the long-term health of the Dallas Stars, especially when you bring in the question of Thomas Harley, who also will need a deal done after next season? Where is your priority? It is hard to find elite scoring wingers in the NHL. We know that. But it's also hard to find a top four, really a top pairing defenseman as well, like Thomas Harley, who you drafted and developed, which the Stars haven't been very successful with in terms of producing and developing defensemen over the last decade. I think that's fair, but they've been able to find offensive talent. But Jason Roberts, does he deserve what his next contract will be? Yes. And somebody will pay it, whether it's Dallas or whether it's somebody else. Is Robo willing to maybe take a little bit less than what he could potentially get on the open market? You also have to factor in he is an RFA, arbitration eligible after this season as well. So it's going to be really fascinating. And let's be honest, Robo already took a sweetheart deal earlier in his 20s, the 4-year, $7.75 million. He's going to want to get paid. And does he deserve it? Absolutely. But does it make sense for the Stars? I don't know. I think it's going to be a really fascinating conversation because, yes, Robertson has been elite. We've talked about and documented some of his maybe struggles in the playoffs, but we've also documented how successful he's been in some of the Western Conference final appearances where everybody else has sheltered and curdled, and he has shown up. Did it really matter at the end of the day? Not really, since the Stars didn't come that close to winning any of those series. But here's Jason Robertson against Jonathan Huberdeau as well. I wanted to kind of compare him to another left winger that got paid a lot of money back in the day. Very, very different players at this point. But this is through, I believe, the first 6 seasons. It could be to the same age of Robo and Huberdeau, but very similar amount of games played. 374 for Robo, 385 for Huberdeau. Again, Jason Robertson has the advantage in all major offensive categories: goals, assists, points, 394 to 267. But Huberdeau is one of those players as well. Back in the day, if you recall, with the Florida Panthers, he had that 115-point season. The Panthers just ran the table on everybody until the Stanley Cup playoffs. They traded him for Matthew Tkachuk and some others from the Flames, and then boom, Florida rattles off multiple Stanley Cups. Is that the type of decision that the Stars are going to have to make here soon with Jason Robertson? If you don't believe you can get a deal done, are the Stars going to have to trade him and see what they can get back for him? Also, I think it would be advantageous for the Stars to hold on to Robo for at least this season, because if he does come out and just lights it up, well, I think that's a win-win for Dallas, because you can be like, okay, he is worth it. We can keep him. Or his stock could be higher than anybody at the trade deadline, and you can get a hefty package for him as well. So I think it's a win-win for the Stars to hold on to him. I just think it's going to be fascinating where the line is kind of drawn with Dallas. And I think we heard that in even the Mikko Rantanen conversation when the Stars were trying to work out a deal to complete that trade earlier in the spring, where Mikko wanted probably somewhere around 13, and Dallas basically just said, it's $12 million, take it or leave it. What is that number going to be for Dallas? Is it 10.5? Can it be inched up to 11? It'll just be fascinating because the Stars have a lot of important deals to get done. And if you do sign 2 players to, big deals, sometimes it can take away from your depth, right? We've seen that. Look at Toronto. Even earlier in the careers of Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn, although I would make the argument, I just think the Stars didn't do a great job of building the roster around those 2. But we all know that has had some constraints on Dallas as well. And look, you still have Tyler Seguin on contract for $9.85 million for the next couple of years. Like, that has certainly been to the detriment of the Dallas Stars, although they have been able, and give credit to Jim Neal, he's put together a pretty good roster despite that. So it really is fascinating to see what Dallas can do. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts on it in the comments below. And I feel like it always revolves back to the question I posed at the beginning of the segment. When Dallas made this deal for Antonin, were they making a choice? Was that a strong choice being made? Like, this is going to be our future, not Jason Robertson. Was that a choice? Or were they going to try to make both work? Because I don't know if they can. But who knows? It'll be really, really interesting. Okay, another choice the Stars may have to make, or let's just make it a hypothetical. Harley or Jason Robertson? Who would you choose if you were the GM of the Dallas Stars? We'll do that in just a moment. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever wish managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. The best part about Monarch Money is you can dial in on the areas where maybe you're spending a bit too much, whether that is taking out food, whether that's dining in, whether that's on entertainment, going to movies, bowling, some other stuff. And you can dial back and you can track your shared and personal accounts with a significant other, and you can save for that big trip you've always wanted to take. Go ahead, take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNHL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNHL for half off your first year. Thomas Harley will also need a new contract after this upcoming season, and he's maybe even more fascinating than Jason Robertson in some aspects. But I thought of this hypothetical. If the Stars had to choose between one or the other, Harley or Robertson, who would you choose? Let me know in the comments below. I have a feeling of who most would pick, but I want to hear your thoughts, and I'm going to share mine as well and try to give you my reasoning behind the choice as well. Harley is just so intriguing because he has proven to be, let's be safe, top 20 as a defenseman in the NHL, maybe even top 15 in some respect as well. And him and Miro Heiskanen have paired up to be somewhat of a juggernaut. And next season, I'm really looking forward to both of them being healthy, hopefully for a full season. Or last couple of years now, Miro has had to miss some time. But now you have like a fully realized potential of Thomas Harley, or a fully confident, I would say, Thomas Harley. And we already know what Miro Heiskanen is, and that's just a premier shutdown defender in the NHL. You have like 2 of the top 15 guys. So now it's time to reap the benefits of that. And it's going to be really, really fun. Also, who is going to play with each of those guys? How are the pairings going to work out? We're not going to get into that today. But that's just some of the questions that pop up in my mind when I think about Harley. And could his potential deal be above even Miro's? That would almost be hard to believe, just because Miro is considered, he is the Stars' number one defenseman. He is the best player, arguably, on the Dallas Stars. I would argue that he is. Does Harley deserve more than Miro? I don't know. I think you can make that case in some ways. I'm sure if you're the agent of Thomas Harley, you're going to try to make that case. And let's be honest, Miro's deal, from the moment he put his signature on the contract, it was one of the best deals the Stars maybe have ever done. One of the best deals in the NHL, for sure, for what you're getting out of Miro. So could Harley top that? And if he does, would that come at the cost of somebody like Jason Robertson? And I think you probably already have an understanding of where I'm going with this. I would have to choose Thomas Harley if you had to keep one or the other, for a few reasons. I think the blue line is much more important for the Dallas Stars right now. And that's obvious. Just the way the Stars are constructed, the Stars need Thomas Harley a lot more than maybe not a lot more. That may be a bit hyperbolic, but they need him more than Jason Robertson. If the Stars blue line was a bit more formidable, I could see myself erring on the side of Jason Robertson. And with that said, it's not like the Stars have a ton of scoring on that left side. When you look at it's Robertson, and then you have some guys you're going to have to ask a lot out of, like, a Sam Steele and some other. There's some lack of scoring on that side. But Thomas Harley is just a talent on the blue line you can not mess up. You can just not give that away. And the other reason I would say, too, sort of goes back to my point I made in the first segment about Robo and the potential that you trade him. The Stars have done a fairly decent job. That's probably underselling. They've done a very good job of finding offensive talent in the draft. I don't know if you can make that case, or at least show a track record of them drafting and developing defensemen. Now they have hit on a couple of their high picks recently. Of course, Thomas Harley, Miro, of course, in 2017, and Liam Bichsel. So that's three. So maybe they're starting to prove that they can find defense and draft them high and develop them and get to the NHL. And there's some still with Texas down in the AHL that are intriguing, and hopefully you see be a part of the Dallas Stars someday. And you have Niels Lundqvist, who's still young as well, who they essentially used a first-round pick on, and maybe he improves again and gets a bit longer of a leash with new Stars head coach Glenn Gulletson. So I think the Stars haven't shown the track record maybe of finding like superstar defensemen. And maybe Harley's not a superstar yet, but he burst onto the scene. Of course, the Four Nations face-off with Team Canada. More than likely, we're going to see him suit up for Team Canada at Italy next winter for the Olympics as well. But the Stars, they have proved they can find talented for it. Stankoven, Bork, Robo, of course, taken in 2017. Oscar Beck, I know, he's not a guy that's sliding up the stat sheet, but again, he's made it to the NHL. He's been dang good. And they have some in the pipeline who probably won't reach the level, let's be fair, not going to reach the level of Jason Robertson, but a Ritskovian even, who's, turned some heads, right? And maybe we'll see how Emil Hemming comes down the road for the Stars as well. So if I'm Jim Nill, I'm choosing Thomas Harley. And maybe this isn't the most fair hypothetical, just because the way the Stars are built right now, it just seems like a no-brainer. You have to keep Thomas Harley, especially when you have the caveat that Mikko Rantanen is right there. So maybe the more intriguing question would be, let's say pre-Mikko Rantanen, let's say Stars don't have him. Do you keep Harley or Robo? Now I think that becomes more of a 50-50 decision for a lot of people. but I'd still probably lean towards Thomas Harley because it's just so important to have guys on your blue line in the modern NHL that are mobile and can move the puck movers. They're invaluable. And Thomas Harley is exactly that. You can find other Jason Robertsons a lot easier, in my opinion, than you can somebody like a Thomas Harley. So I would err on the side of Harley if you had to choose between one or the other. I'm curious what some of your thoughts are on that hypothetical question as well. Let me know in the comment section below. But this next summer, it's already been a really intriguing summer. One of the it's certainly the most intriguing summer or most drama-filled summer that I've had doing Locked On Stars. Next summer could be a doozy with Harley and Robo, if that ever gets to that point, depending on if the Stars can get an extension done before then. And then, it's going to be really, really intriguing. Jamie Benn again. What is that going to look like? So it's going to be some fascinating conversations in the next 12 to 24 months for the Dallas Stars. All righty. I wanted to throw out that hypothetical. Let's dive into some new Dallas Stars Hall of Fame inductees. Just this last week, the Stars announced 2 new members that will be inducted, and I'll share those with you in just a moment. Just this last week, the Dallas Stars announced that Ralph Strangis and Joe Nieuwendyk will be the new 2025 inductees into the Dallas Stars Hall of Fame. They will be officially inducted during the Dallas Stars Hall of Fame weekend from November 14th to November 16th. Both inductees will participate in a ceremonial puck drop prior to the Dallas Stars game against the Philadelphia Flyers on Saturday, November 15th. The weekend will conclude with the 4th annual Dallas Stars Hall of Fame induction gala presented by Truist. And of course, Stars started this about 4 or 5 years ago, and it's been a great, great addition and awesome to see new members every single year that are being introduced. Brad Alberts had this to say: on behalf of the committee, I'd like to officially welcome Joe Nieuwendyk and Ralph Strangis into the 2025 class of the Dallas Stars Hall of Fame. Joe is not only one of the best players to ever wear a Dallas Stars sweater, but one of the greats in NHL history. He was known as a consistent playoff performer during his time with the club and is the only Conn Smythe Trophy winner in franchise history. It says here, moving down to Texas with the franchise in 1993, Ralph quickly endeared himself to our fan base, was a huge part of the fabric of our team for decades. His voice is connected to many of our club's biggest moments, and his passion for the game has been invaluable in growing hockey in the Lone Star State. Personally, Ralph Strangis was someone I looked up to growing up in a lot of ways. I knew from a pretty early young age I wanted to do play-by-play. He's one of the first voices I listened to night in and night out growing up, watching Dallas Stars hockey, staying up late, watching those West Coast games against Anaheim and San Jose, and hearing Ralph and Razor, just 2 voices that are synonymous with my childhood in a lot of ways. And I think some of I guess his vernacular, just some of his vocabulary in a lot of ways has probably seeped into a lot of what I do today, which is pretty cool. Just because you kind of absorb that growing up. I certainly did not look at or listen or watch games with an eye like I do now when I was listening to Ralph, just because it is kind of a craft I take really seriously now, but certainly someone I had eyes on growing up, and hopefully I can make it to that level someday. And really cool to see that he is he's going to get inducted, and he had some great things to say on Twitter as well about the acknowledgement of that. And Joe, of course, Nieuwendyk, not somebody I watched personally growing up as somebody born in 99, but trust me, I learned a lot about him, heard a lot about him from my father and whatnot. Like, he was kind of the dude. He felt like just from my understanding and from what you heard from, like, he was just kind of the glue. It felt like he was the guy the Stars needed to get over the hump. A guy that obviously had immense respect around the league, has proven it before. Like, he was a Stanley Cup champion, and boom, the Stars needed a guy like that could come in, perform on the biggest stages, and boom, bring a Stanley Cup to Dallas. So very, very cool that this is the pair that will be going into the Dallas Stars Hall of Fame for the class of 2025. So awesome that the Stars are doing this, and they've had already fantastic inductees. And now Ralph and Joe will be a part of the new Dallas Stars Hall of Fame class of 2025. So I wanted to share that with some of you as well on today's episode. Well, that's going to do it for this Monday edition. Appreciate all of you that tune in each and every day for the support. I know it's been a bit wonky recently, and I've been very consistent on my scheduling. I apologize. Just the summer, it's been a bit crazy. I'm off doing things, but we're going to kind of kick back into gear here. I promise. And bring you some more content more consistently, and bring it back to getting it on the rails again, since we've been off, and trying to bring it back on. But thank you so much, as always, Stars fans, for listening to today's episode. Please be sure to leave a comment if you wish, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Never miss an episode of Locked On Stars. We'll see you on the next episode. So long, Stars fans. God, it's hot.